everyone, today we're going to be working on Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I'm going to play through it once first, so have your score and follow along with me. I'm playing with a metronome of half note equals to 90. It's a very moderate tempo, not very fast, but still lively. Details that you can watch out for when you're practicing. So for the first four measures, you see third and fourth we have staccato marks on the quarter notes, but in the first two measures we don't have that. So to differentiate the texture and the articulations, we're going to play the first and second measure a little bit longer than how we would play the staccatos. But it's still forte and you still have to have the lively feeling. It's not too lyrical, so also not connected bow strokes, but we can have like an opening statement, very lively, and then staccato. So the music becomes more three-dimensional. As you might have noticed, there are a lot of 1, 1, 2, 2, this kind of fingerings. For example, measure 10, you have an E natural on the first finger, going to E flat also on the first finger. And also in measure 17, you have F sharp on the second finger, shifting to F natural also on the second finger. I said this kind of fingering is tricky because it needs a lot of coordination between your left hand and right hand for it to speak clearly. You have to make the bow change and the fingers shift at the same time for it to speak without having other noises. So, for example, measure 10. So you can practice slowly and then have in your mind, I'm shifting and changing bowl at the same time. So prepare in your mind before you do it, and practice this slowly a few times before you can go in tempo and have this, clear and perfect shift. Now going back to measure 15, you have a change of dynamic here. The beginning you have forte, and here we have mezzo forte. And from my understanding and my listening of this piece, I think the change of dynamic here is to create this kind of searching feeling, a little bit ambiguous. So we have we calm down a little bit before we find our destination. So look ahead in measure 21, we have a 2-measure crescendo back to forte. So from measure 15, you have to have in mind you are setting a dynamic that allows you to have a crescendo that's clear enough, big enough to go back to forte. For crescendo and decrescendo, this kind of markings, to be able to execute it naturally, we can plan ahead with the amount of bow we're using. So for crescendo, for example, measure 21 and 22, we start from using little bow and increase the amount of bow you're using for 2 measures along the way for 2 measures until 23. So from 21, add weight and length of your bow along the way to create the crescendo. And for the crescendo, for example, measure 30, you start with a lot of bow in the beginning, and then decrease the amount of bow and the weight in your arm to make this kind of the crescendo natural. From the second beat of measure 37, we're going into a pizzicato section, and the dynamic changes from mezzo forte suddenly to mezzo piano. But I'll say, since even though the mezzo piano is marked, you don't have to go too soft all of a sudden, since pizzicato already helps with the drop of dynamics, so make sure that the notes are spoken still very clearly when you play it, even though it's in a softer dynamic. In the last beat of measure 46, we're going back to arco motion, and we also have a dynamic change again from mezzo piano back to mezzo forte. But don't get too excited again. Save your energy, because if you look ahead in measure 54, we have a crescendo back to forte, like the beginning. So reserve the amount of bow you're using, reserve your energy, your weight, and plan ahead in order to have the crescendo in measure 54 effective. Second to the last measure, you see the marking glissando. So you have to use your fourth finger as it said. And a glissando basically means that you are shifting down with the fourth finger while still half pressing the string. So it'll sound like you see the pinky is squeezing back, replacing the first position place, and then release for the open string. One more time. That's it for today. I hope you have fun practicing it.